So beginning by just settling into the support of the chair as much as you like. Leaning back into the back support, making sure your hips are back as well, so they're right underneath your shoulders. And land your feet into the floor with your heels under the knees. You might lift and spread the toes and just try to start to sense the floor through your feet as they rest. And relaxing the length of your thighs, feeling their weight as they settle into the support of the seat. And letting your hands maybe rest on your thighs here, whether it's palms down or palms up. Just noticing what brings less tension into your fingers. So if you have the tendency to kind of grip with your hands down, maybe turn the palms up and let the fingers relax a little more. Check in with your shoulders. Feel how they sit in relation to your ears. And maybe moving them back ever so slightly so your shoulder blades rest against your upper back. The upper arms relax along your sides, elbows under the shoulders. Become aware of the head and the neck. Feel free to find little movements there just to get a sense of where your head is in relation to the rest of your body. And see if you could bring your head back a little more to bring your shoulders and your ears more in line. So often we carry our head forward, right, of our shoulders. So bringing the ears back a bit. Notice how that might bring you more length into the sides of your neck and the back of your neck. Tucking your chin down ever so slightly to free up that space at the very top of the spine. Yeah, the base of the skull. So the head itself feels light, floating upwards to the ceiling above you. Choosing whether you're going to keep the eyes softly open or close them. What lets you tune in to your body, resting here, and to the breath moving through you. So let's start out by just simply following the breath, becoming conscious of each inhale, breath moving in, and aware of each exhale, breath flowing out. Feel the sensation of air as it passes through the nostrils as you breathe. Noticing the temperature of the inhale perhaps feels a little cooler than the exhale. And start to notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. Feeling that space across the breastbone, widening, rising slightly with each inhale. And feeling that space soften and settle again with each exhale. And start to become aware of the whole circumference of your ribs. So can you feel into the sides of your ribs, under the armpits? Noticing any little movement here with your inhale and with your exhale. And perhaps you can even feel the movements of your breath into the backs of your ribs. So especially if your back is leaning into the back support of the chair, that might create a little more feedback of of whatever movement you sense, breathing in and breathing out, feeling the backs of your ribs respond to each breath. And then let's become more aware of the belly. And notice if you're holding on to any tension there. If you find it helpful to bring the hands to the belly, or you could also kind of hug a pillow and hold the pillow against your belly if you prefer. That's a nice way to just start to notice some of the movements here into your belly. You could have one hand on either side of your navel. I've got one hand above my navel and the other below it. And with each inhale, just inviting a little more softness to feel your belly expand like a balloon into your hands. And then as you exhale, can you feel how your belly kind of shrinks back in? Just a little bit of movement, letting the belly move back in, slightly up as you let go of the breath. Try to feel the belly moving with as little effort, as little strain as possible. Each inhale is an invitation to relax the belly more. As the diaphragm descends, moves breath into your lungs, it displaces the organs, it moves the organs. That's what makes our belly move. And then when we exhale and the diaphragm draws back up, helping to push out more breath, the organs can rest back to their original position. And towards the end of your exhale, see if you can feel its slight, gentle contraction from deep within the belly, helping to push out just a little more breath. So you might be lengthening your exhale by just one count as you're encouraging more breath to leave your body, drawing in and up through the belly. Now let's follow a couple more cycles of breath here, letting each inhale be an opportunity to soften and relax the belly so the breath can move in and down a little deeper. And then it's with each exhale as we let go of the breath more slowly and gradually towards the end of that exhale, feel this gentle, deep contraction from within, helping to push out a little more breath. Now, let's little by little just let the hands rest again on the thighs. And let's start to deepen the breath, moving in through the nose and feeling free to sigh it out through the mouth with any sound you like. Doing that a couple times as you start to reawaken your body. Let the eyes flutter open when you're ready for that. And we can begin to move a little into fingers and toes, curling and spreading them both. And then if you bring your feet just a little further forward so they're able to lift a little bit off the ground, just enough to circle the ankles as you also circle your wrists. So try to feel these movements happening, from elbows down through the forearms and wrists, and from ankles down through the ankles and toes. So nothing else moving here for now, and then just finding that circling in the other direction through all these 4 joints. Nice. All right, and then let's rest the feet to the floor. Maybe we'll come a little closer to the front of the chair. So your feet are still under the knees as you sit towards the edge of your seat. Let's begin with finding a little pelvic tilt movement. So you're going to, feel your sitting bones on the seat, and we're going to let the pelvis tip forward and tip back. So if you're not quite sure like where the sitting bones are, you can bring a hand underneath your bum and just sort of very gently bring the weight into it, into your hand. It's a kind of bony area. That's what we're going to be feeling. And you'll feel that sitting bone, and that's the very bottom of your pelvis. Okay, so getting a sense of where they are in your body, sort of wiggling over your hand if you'd like, or just wiggling onto the seat of the chair if you'd rather, to try to get a sense of those bony protrusions right at the base of the bum. Okay, and the pubic bone is also part of our pelvis, and our sacrum at the very back is the base of our spine. The tailbone is the very bottom of it. And this bone also connects into our pelvis. So as our pelvis moves, our spine will move. So let's, though, initiate the movement from our pelvis as best we can. So you might even like take your fingers, take your hands onto the top of your pelvis, which is those pelvic bones at the front. You'll be able to feel sort of just under the navel if you trace your fingers over to the sides. You're going to feel the top of the pelvic bones. So your hands could be there. I've got sort of fingers in front and thumbs wrapping around sort of the back rim of the pelvic bones. So let's maybe start to visualize the pelvis as like a bowl, So we've got pubic bone at the front, sacrum at the back, and underneath us is tailbone and sitting bones at the bottom. So if we were to tip our bowl of our pelvis forward, that would mean we're lowering our pubic bone towards the floor, and we're trying to lift our tailbone up. So that means we're rolling forward on our sitting bones. So can you get a sense of that? This will deepen our hip creases, you might also notice. And then could we start to lift up from pubic bone? So pull pubic bone up. Your navel is going to draw in a little bit, and you're going to roll off of your sitting bones back. And this is going to bring your tailbone to point more towards the knees. And you might also notice that your back has rounded a little more. Okay? So can you tip your pelvis forward again, as forward as you go? Tailbone is lifting up as your pubic bone curls down or points more down. So let's find that rock back on the sitting bones, kind of like you're sitting on your tail, right? And your tail is pointing more between the thighs to the knees. And then you're trying to push the tail back, and this is going to bring your pelvis forward, pubic bone down, belly forward a little. And you might notice that this arches your back, this lifts your chest. This brings, a little bit of extension into that lower back. So sometimes it's helpful if you wanted to have one hand on your kind of low belly between pubic bone and navel, and the other hand on the back waist or just below the back waist, the sacrum. As you tip forward and back, just feel that shape change that's happening in your body, initiated by the movement of your pelvis. The spine moves, and can the breath move? Find its own rhythm, right? Usually we exhale when we're rounding our back and pulling up and in a bit through the front of the belly. And then we inhale when we tip our pelvis forward and the tail lifts into extension through the spine. This is our extension when we're lifting our chest, and this is flexion when we're rounding our back and curling our tail underneath. So just getting a sense of those movements. How does the head ride your spine here as well, right? You might notice your chin moving towards your chest as your tail points more forward, rounding the back. And then you might notice your chin wanting to lift a little away from the chest as your tail points back, tipping forward on the pelvis. Yeah. All right. So then if you like, allow the movement to travel through as much of the spine as you want. You can take your hands onto your thighs and finding those cat-cow movements, right? Through flexion and through extension as you breathe. Still feeling the pelvis tipping forward with each inhale, tailbone lifting and pointing back, and then tipping back with each exhale. So this is going to bring the tail to point forward. Rounding our spine. Okay, one more time. Lovely. And then take your time to let's find where we're neither tipped forward nor are we tipped back. So can you find where you are on your sitting bones? When you sit directly on top of them, you're going to feel your spine just sort of fall into its natural neutral shape. Okay, so your head is balanced over your shoulders are balanced on top of the ribs are balanced on top of the hips, rather than being forward or back, okay? Finding that middle ground as best you can today. And then within that middle ground, let's go for a little more movement in the upper body. Let's lift the arms, sweep them out, stretch them up, looking up. And then with the exhale, let's take the hands down through center. So we're trying to keep the spine in its long neutral shape as we're moving our arms with the rhythm of the breath. Feel the inhale, lift. Feel the exhale, lower. One more in this direction. Good. Your head and eyes can move when you lift the arms, looking up a little with the eyes. Exhaling, you might lower the gaze and even bring the chin a little down towards the chest. So feel free to find those movements from the neck up along with your shoulders. Last one here. Okay, nice. And then letting that go. And then what we're going to do is find a bit of leaning movements. So when we're leaning off center, we're working through these muscles that wrap around our core. And by core, I mean, the space from the ribs to the pelvis. So all that midsection where our organs are and what protects those organs is not a whole lot of bone structure, but muscular structure. So there's 3 different layers of abdominal muscles, and we're going to just feel into them a little bit. So maybe let's start out by just imagining that we're sort of in the middle of a cube or a box, okay? So we've got the 2 corners at the front, we've got the sides, and then the 2 corners at the back, I think, and above you too. So just sort of get a sense of the corners of the cube, the sides of the cube, front, even back a little bit. And then we're going to start to kind of reach in all of those different directions. So let's go ahead and maybe start reaching over to the right. So you can reach with your right arm, but then start to lean to kind of touch that side of the cube and then come on back to center. So just maybe a couple times, 3 in that direction. How far can you lean off center without lifting the sitting bones? Okay, that's what we're going for. And then let's try the other side. So left arm reaching out to the side, leaning into it just as much as you can without lifting your sitting bones off. And just notice, what starts to engage for you to help you stay stable, to help you, to keep you from falling over into that direction. Okay? And then let's reach forward. So we could do this with both arms. So as you reach forward, you're moving more from your hips. This is more of a familiar movement that we do, right? The hip hinge action. And just see if you can keep your back from rounding. So when your chest stays wide here, we're keeping some more strength and support into our back at the same time. So let's go to the corner, the front right corner. Maybe we'll reach over with the opposite hand. So a bit of a twist will come as we reach with the left arm towards that front right corner and then come on back. Yeah? So how far can you reach without rounding your spine too much, without letting that left hip lift away from the floor? And you're also trying to come back with this, sense of control from the center. Okay? Let's try it on the other side. So right arm is going to reach more towards the opposite left corner. Okay? So you can lean through that bit of a twist and reach, and then come on back upright again. How does your breath help you out with this one? I'm finding myself exhaling into the lean and then inhaling as I come on back. Maybe one more of those. All right, take a moment and just start to notice, what am I sensing around my middle? Maybe just find a softness there for a moment. Feel a full breath in and a slow breath out. Okay, and then we're going to lean with our right arm, reaching to the back right corner. So this one's a little trickier. So you go and you lean off to the side, but you reach more to the back corner. And you'll notice some of those muscles engaging to pull you back to center. So feel that bit of a lean. Just find the range that feels good for you. It doesn't have to be big. You're just exploring, okay? Finding out what you can do with breath, with support, with both sitting bones still on the floor, okay? Whew. Let's try it in the last direction here. We're going to go to the back left corner with our left arm reaching towards that corner. So we can kind of, look towards the corner. It's like, if you're trying to reach and grab hold of something, you want to use your eyes to help you find it. Reaching out and pulling it on back. One more time. All right. And then let that go. Okay, really nice. And then feel free to find any little movements you want here into the body. Just loosening up what you need. I'm finding little waist wiggles is good. Okay. And then let's go for a little bit of a march. And as we march, we're going to swing our arms a little bit. So maybe we'll start with the arm swing. Okay, so find the arm swing with your elbows bent at about 90 degrees. You're going to keep your elbows bent pretty much at 90 degrees the whole time as you're swinging your arms. So your elbows aren't, bending more and bringing your hands towards your shoulders, but you're letting your elbows swing along your sides, forward and back. And you can allow for a little twist to come if you want into the upper body. Okay. Yeah, find your own tempo. It doesn't have to be fast. It could be slower than I'm going. It could be faster than I'm going. Okay. And then let's begin to find a little march. So if you're going fast, you might want to slow this one down a little bit. As the left arm comes across, you're going to lift your right knee. And as the right arm comes across, you're going to lift your left knee. Yeah, so whatever the arm that's kind of swinging more in front of you, let your opposite foot lift. Yeah. And find however high that each knee can come, and if you're not wanting to lift the whole foot off the floor, you can also simply lift the heels and just come as light as you can on your toes. Yeah, that's it. Feel a couple more breaths here as you're marching. Feeling these twists happen through the waist, the ribs. Excellent. All right, and then bring it back to center and just take a moment to pause. Find a bit of stillness here. You're welcome to rest one hand on the belly and the other on the chest if you like. A little feedback, sensing your breath. As it slows down, perhaps even sensing the heart rate as we give it a chance to slow down here too. All right. Now let's bring both hands to the seat of the chair, a little behind our hips. You want to probably be close to the front of your chair for this one for sure. Let's just start by finding a little cat tilt movement, which is the pelvic tilt, where you roll back off your sitting bones and you curl your tail towards your knees. So you're lifting in and up a little through the front of the belly. Use your hands for support. You can walk them back as much as you need to, and see if you can lift the knees now one at a time, and maybe noticing how this is getting into a little more of that front belly deep core support here as one knee lifts and then the other knee lifts. Okay? If you find this super easy, you're welcome to take your hands off your chair, whether they're out to the sides or forward. Do what you want to do today to challenge the core a little more. Okay? Good. And then could we lift the one leg and straighten it and try to just stay on that one leg a couple times as you're lifting and lowering, keeping the leg straight. So we're working into the hip flexor a little bit while we're still curled under through the tail. Tail points more towards that right or whichever straight leg through the heel. Okay? And then let that foot come back to the floor so your other knee can lift. Stretch the leg just to where it's a comfortable length and lift and lower it. Moving from your hip. Find the range that feels comfortable, and if lifting and lowering the leg straight is just too much sensation in that hip, simply keep it more bent and lift and lower that way. That's it. 2 more. Feel the breath as you move. All right. And then rest the feet back to the floor and let's come forward. We could rest our forearms on the thighs. Just check in. You might notice some stretch coming into your kind of lower back area. You could let the head release. And just once again, notice any change here in your breath, in your heart rate. Things may have quickened up. So give them a chance to slow down as you maybe sense the breath moving a little better into your back ribs here. Nice. All right. Okay, let's do one more similar movement that we just did. So start out at the front of your chair as you come up to sitting tall again. And let's curl the tail once more underneath. So we're lifting the pubic bone up towards the belly. This is rounded slightly through our back. We're trying to keep a sense of that lift through the chest as we hold on to the chair with our hands. So could we lift one foot? Then you might have to lean back a little more to lift the other foot. Lower the first foot, lower the second foot. Okay? So then, can we lift the other leg first? That's it. And then the other leg second. And then lower the first leg, lower the second leg. okay? Feel free to sit up a little bit after each time, or just go right back into lifting one leg, lifting the other leg, lowering that foot, lowering the other foot. And then we lead with our other leg first. Lift up to whatever height you can, lift the other. We're still holding on with our hands. Lower the first foot, lower the second foot. And then the last time, find a breath. Keep the tail curled under. Keep that lift up and in through the belly as you hold on with your hands. Lift and see if you can hold this. Knees up, feet up. Maybe you're straightening your legs to challenge it even more. I'm happy right here. You might try balancing on your bum, on your chair. This one's definitely tricky without your hands. All right. Very good, everyone. And then let it go. Those are all super challenging, so it's okay if some things were not doable for you. You do what you can do, and it's an exploration. And maybe the next time we do it, you never know, could be a little easier. So let's loosen into the hips a little, bring the feet wider, knees together and apart. Yeah, just take a bit of time to slow down the breath. Okay, and then let's come to a sit, or a stand, from sitting. So using the support of our legs a little bit here, you might walk the feet a bit wider apart, right? Walk the feet back as well, so the heels are a little behind the knees. Just make sure knees and toes are pointing in the same direction, okay, on each leg. So when you lean forward, you push more down into your feet. And each time you lean forward, you might find a bit of a bounce off your chair before you then find the chair again. So that bounce could be super quick. That bounce could be a little slower, finding a little more control from the legs. Do what you can do. Arms can do anything at all. I find a bit of a sweep of the arms forward and up helps me propel myself a little better out of the seat. Okay? Try to keep breathing in and out through the nose as you're doing this. Calm and steady breath. And then maybe this last one, we can lift and hover off our chair. So we keep the knees as bent as you can, keep the chest wide. Hands might come together now in front of the chest as you're here for one more breath. Yeah, great. And then press into the feet. Whew. Lots of work in those legs. So move a little bit. I like to just kind of sway the hips, shake out the legs. Yeah, anything that's feeling good right now. Coming back to the breath, slowing down in through the nose, down into the belly, out through the nose, drawing up and in a bit through the belly. Okay. All right. So let's come to, I think, which one first? Maybe holding on to the back of the chair. So moving yourself around the chair or your chair so that you can stand behind your chair. You've got the back of it for support as needed. You could simply just rest your fingers on that support as you stand. Let's take a look at the feet. Could you bring them more or less parallel, about hip distance apart? You could go wider or narrower, depending on what's more comfortable and stable for you. So finding that out for yourself. Let's lift and spread the toes, okay? And let's go for a little bit of a chair pose. So similar to what we just did, we're going to imagine our chair is now behind us, bending bum back and down as our knees bend. Try to keep the chest facing forward, and then pushing into the feet to come back up. So can you keep the tail kind of reaching down and back as you go down? And the head stays light in the opposite direction. Yeah. So doing your best to try not to lean too much forward with your upper body when you're moving your hips back and down. So this is going to find a little more strength and support around the whole spine, really, deep into the core and even into the back. Okay. Okay, and then let's start to add on a little bit. So we're going to go down into our chair pose. You determine how deep that is through the knees and hips. Shift your weight into your right foot. So you can take a moment, lift off your left foot. Step that foot back. Land your toes. Keep them facing forward as much as you can. Land your back heel. That's it. We could even lift our left arm. Feel a breath in. And then as you exhale, take your hand back to the seat. Step forward into chair pose again. We're going to go right to the other side without straightening the legs. So shift over to your left leg. Right foot, take it slowly back. Toes land. See if you could land that back heel or reach it towards the floor. So we've got front leg bent, back leg straight. Lift the right arm this time. Feel a breath in. Exhale, lower the arm. Step your back foot forward. Let's do one more like that on each side. Shift the weight into the right foot. Left foot steps back. Find the support through both legs. Lift the spine with your left arm up. If you want to challenge it, keep the hands off the chairs. You step forward into chair pose. Shift your weight into your left leg. Right foot steps back. Lifting left arm with the spine tall. Really nice, I think. And then coming on back in to chair pose. Now pressing into the feet as we come on back up. Okay. All right. Let's rise up onto our toes. Lift our heels. Widen through the pads of the feet. That's it. Feel that space from big toe to baby toe as your heels lift. And then lower the heels and see if you can shift your weight back into the heels and lift just the toes so you're still on the pads of your feet. So rising up onto the toes, lowering the heels, rolling back to lift just the toes. Feel that a couple more times. Can you keep your hips right under your shoulders? Spine stays tall the whole time, shoulders above the hips. That's it. Last time we rise up onto the heels, let's pause there. See if you can find a bit of balance on your toes. Maybe taking just a couple fingers on your support. Maybe 1 or 2 fingers on your support. Maybe the hands or one hand could hover off your support. And just notice how you balance on your toes. And it's okay. The ground is there and the heels just land when needed. Okay, and then slowly let's go ahead and deliberately land our heels. Okay, nice. Let's now face the seat of the chair. Okay, so yeah, as we stand facing the seat of the chair, you can have a foot or so distance between you and the seat. So you might soften a bit through the knees, bend forward to place your hands on the chair. So whenever we've got our hands on the chair here, just make sure that you've got your chair on a non-slip surface, or leaning better, even better is leaning it up against a heavy piece of furniture or the wall, okay? And you can have the palms flat, or you can hold on gripping the sides of your chair if that feels more secure or better on the wrists, okay? So feel free to experiment with that for yourself. So why don't we find a rounded spine by curling our tail underneath us. So we pull up and in through the front of our belly, and that curls our tailbone down. And we can let the rest of our spine respond by bringing the chin towards our chest, pushing a little more into the hands. How can we feel the back rounding and stretching a little more? And then keeping a little bend through those knees. Let's lift the tail up, away from the heels. That's it. And open up the chest to look beyond the back of our chair. Good. Each exhale, let's hug up and in through the belly. Feel how that action curls our tail underneath us, pulls up through the pubic bone, rounds and stretches our back. And then let your inhale lift your tail, open up through the front. Chest widens, head lifts, spinal extension. So go for those movements, maybe once or twice more in each direction. Okay, nice. And then from here, let's keep our right foot where it is as we try to find more of a neutral spine, so we're neither lifted and arched, nor are we rounded and flexed. So try to find that happy medium space in the middle. As we take our left foot to step back, keep most of the weight on your right leg. So my back toes are just on the floor. And so let's see if we can keep our pelvis level as we lift the left leg, reach it up and back, and then tap the toes back to the floor. So what might happen with this one is your back starts to get involved, and we move a lot in like our waist, which is what I'm showing you right now. So the movement is coming into my ribs and waist. So see if you can keep that space pretty still. You might even try taking your right forearm or hand onto like upper belly, lower ribs, and you're trying not to move this area of the body as you move just your left leg. That's it. You could try now bringing the right arm forward to rest on the back of your chair. And when you lift that left leg, you can lift the right arm up a little more. Trying not to move from the middle. One more time. That's it. And then lift and hold these limbs up just as far as you go before you notice your waist or ribs wanting to move. Keep breathing. Wonderful, everyone. Bring it back down. Let's take it back into a downward dog from there. So have both hands on the seat. Have your feet walking back so that you can feel strong and straight through the arms. And feel like your hips reach back. And they're right above the feet. You can keep the knees bent a little bit and enjoy some space and length through the spine with another breath or two here. All right, and then walk it forward again so that your feet are under your hips and now your shoulders are above your hands again. And this time, let's have the right foot back. So we try to keep our pelvis level more or less as best we can when we lift the right leg up and then tap the toes back to the floor. Can we feel like our right leg is wanting to touch the wall behind us as it lifts? And we're also maybe pushing up through that inner thigh a little more towards the sky. Maybe the left hand comes to rest for a breath or two on the front ribs, belly, trying to keep that space from moving. And then left arm can come to rest on the back of the chair so that when you lift your right leg, you could also try lifting your left arm. Nice. Feel these movements through shoulder and hip. While the spine stays as strong as it can, we can pause into that balance with both limbs off for another breath. All right, and then bring both hands back to the chair. Walk the feet back into another downward facing dog. So you're pushing forward and down through the hands As you're moving your hips a little further back, feel the support of your legs, your feet, and try to sense where you're noticing the breath moving through you as you're in this shape. Okay, and then let's go ahead and once again walk our feet forward. Okay, we're going to keep our hands on the seat. Now, you're welcome to experiment, right? Maybe you want a change in your hands. So maybe you're gripping the edges of your seat if you want. You can be there. So let's go ahead and find just a little bit of a curl through the tailbone down. So find a little hug up and in through the belly, drawing the tailbone to point more, just slightly more towards the knees. So we're not rounding our whole spine, but just starting it by curling our tailbone under. Okay, and that's going to lift and widen through the low belly a little more. So can we keep that when we take one foot to step back, straight, where our heel is off the floor and our toes are down. So we've got one leg still in table and the other leg in a plank position. So can we then meet in a plank with our other leg stepping back, keeping our tail pointing back, keeping our belly hugging up and in, and then stepping forward with the first leg and back with the second leg. Okay, so we're trying not to move our spine or our shoulders. Our shoulders are staying right over our hands. And we start by hugging up and in through the belly, curling our tail down a little more. Could we step back with our other leg first? Other leg second, meeting in plank. And then when we step the first leg forward, try not to move the spine, second leg forward. Okay? And then this last time, let's just simply walk both feet back without bringing our shoulders back. And so we're in a strong straight line through plank from head, shoulders, hips, heels. Feel like your legs pull in towards each other as you pull up and in through the front of the belly. All right, and then walk the feet slowly forward again till they're right under your hips. And let's bring more weight back into the heels. Move the bum back and down as you let the knees bend. Find chair pose again. Keep a sense of that lift in and up through the belly as you maybe try taking one hand off the chair, maybe both hands off the chair, feeling another breath there, and then pushing into the feet to come on back up again. Yeah, so that was a lot on the wrists, so feel free to circle into those wrists a bit. Okay, and then what we're going to do is you might want to stand more with the chair beside you. So the back of the chair, you have something to hold on to, or you could easily take your hand to the seat, okay? So I'm going to show it like this. So my left side is closest to the chair, and let's bring the foot that's closest to the chair, so for me it's my left, underneath the seat a little bit to point to the left. So I've turned my foot to point to the side, and this back foot can come out a little further. Okay, so we're going to try to find a little movement from our pelvis again, and this is going to explore a little more core support. So you might keep this front knee bent a little bit. Okay, with your front knee bent, it's pointing in the same direction as your toes. Just feel that. And so from here, if you can, try to bring both hands to the hip creases, maybe, where our thighs fold into our torso. Okay, this is where we're going to really feel the movement coming from as we tip our pelvis over to the right, over to, the chair. The hip crease deepens, and then come on back up, and we open up again. So we're trying not to move a whole lot from the waist. So noticing if this is going on, you might have the hands on the sides of the waist. And if you're moving a lot from where your hands are, try to move from further down. Yeah, it's like you're pushing your hips away from the chair as your upper body goes towards it. So then you could take your hand to rest on either the back of the chair, so that when you go towards it, you're just sort of sliding your hand or your forearm along the back of it, and then coming back up with that strong support through the feet, hugging up and in through the belly. Yes. So then we could also go down a little more with the hand on the seat, and then see if we can recover from that with that strong support. So I like to exhale on the way up, sort of finding that hug up and in through the belly for support. Inhaling on the way down. That's it. Nice. And then let's see about staying as far over to the right towards the chair as you want to be. You can be here, okay, or you could be here. Now from here, let's lift the left arm wherever you are. Stretch the left arm out in line with your shoulder. That's it. And see if you can feel the push a little more into the foot that's further away from the chair. Press into it. That's it. And if you can, see if you could slowly straighten into that front leg a little more. And you're in your triangle shape. Strong and long through the sides of the waist. As you're strong through each leg, pressing into each foot for the breath to move here. So you might bend that front knee a little bit, lower the top arm, and push into your feet as you hug up and in through the belly to come on up with support. Okay, you can turn that foot that was facing the chair in and slowly walk your feet in to center. All right, and then just notice, how does each side feel through the legs, through the torso? Let's try it out on the other side. So I'm walking around to the other side of the chair. Now my right side is closest to it. Yeah, another way to start is to start with your feet, a fairly wide distance apart. Could be shoulder distance, could be a little longer. It's your choice with that. And then turning that left foot, or the right foot, whichever foot is closest to the chair, to face out to the side. So I'm kind of walking that foot just a little under the seat as I bend the knee. Feel the support through each leg. Start to find the movement from the hip. So if you find it helpful to bring the fingers into where you're folding from, what we're doing here is we're moving our pelvis over our legs. Our pelvis tips over towards the chair and then back up. Okay? Yeah, and our upper body is just following that movement. So again, the movement is initiated by pelvis just as much as you can find. And then, you could start to slide left hand along the back of the chair, whichever hand is closest, as you go towards it. And then pushing into your feet, a little hug up and in through the belly to come back up. If you want to take it further towards the floor, a little lower, you try to bring the hand to the seat, trying your best not to collapse into, the spine. So we're trying to feel the spine stay strong and long. with the support around our middle and into our back as well. That's it. Really nice. Yeah. Okay, and then let's go over and just stay there. So stay into it as much or as little as feels comfortable, where you're able to keep this sense of length from head through navel, down into that back foot, pushing into the floor while the other arm stretches out in line with the shoulder. And then you could take it one step further by slowly trying to straighten into that front leg, the leg that's closest to the chair. What do you feel here? Really nice. Love it. All right. Use the support of your legs as you hug up and in through the belly to come on upright again. Pivoting on your feet to turn in, slowly back to center. All right. Well done. Okay, let's come back into the seat, finding the support of the chair here. And as you sit back into the support of the seat, let's feel the feet on the floor, leaning back into the backrest as much as you like. Okay. And getting as comfortable as you can. We're going to end the practice today with a humming breath. So we're going to hum the length of the exhale. So through gently pursed lips, just letting a little bit of sound come through. Doesn't have to be, sing-songy. It can be if you want. But yeah, that's not the point. The point is just to make a little sound, a little gentle hum. And this hum, you'll feel it naturally lengthens your exhale. And then you just let the inhale come naturally through the nose and hum it out again. So you're not making the exhale as long as possible. You're just noticing how it does naturally lengthen as you hum the exhale. Okay? And you might notice what happens as well, to some of that belly movement with each inhale. It softens and fills. And with each slow humming exhale, it draws in and up, helping to push out more breath. So let's settle in. Just feel your natural breath's rhythm, a couple cycles, feeling free to close your eyes or just soften your gaze. And at any time, if you start to feel lightheaded or just short of breath, then please just return to your natural breath's rhythm. So whenever you're ready, feel your exhale as you hum. Letting your inhale come in naturally through your nose so you can once again hum the length of your exhale. And then when you've hummed for the last time, just let your breath return to its own natural pace, moving in and out through the nose for a few cycles here. Just feeling any change, any difference within. little, let's start to bring our awareness out again, sensing the room and hearing the sounds around you. Deepening your inhales through the nose, feeling free to sigh them out if you like again through the mouth as you reawaken once more through fingers and toes. Letting the eyes open when you're ready for that, and maybe exploring a little movement in the eyes and in the head and neck. Just looking around your space, noticing the colors you see, the shapes, the patterns. And take a moment with your palms together again in front of your heart and giving thanks for your practice today. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.